Halo 4 is an extraordinary continuation to a series we all know and love. A game that Halo fans young and old can be proud of. One with a few flaws and an understanding of its history. Final verdict, superb. Yeah, I think that's it. That's a wrap. $100 dislikes?
Well, you got 30 likes, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but usually I get maybe 10 likes to every dislike, or some ratio at least approaching that, but this is just fucking awful. I mean, can I really be that out of touch with this game? It's a fucking Halo game. It couldn't be that bad, could it?
Well, I don't think so. I guess people just like to hate on mainstream games a lot. And the fact that you haven't pissed anyone off at this point was just pure luck. Game reviewing can be such a harsh line of work, really.
Perhaps.
Well, I gotta go, Chris. Make sure you upload my Let's Play videos later on today, alright?
Oh yeah, I'll get right on that. You know, before Halo, I had mostly played action-adventure games as a kid. Shooters, they just weren't that popular. They weren't that commonplace. You had to have a PC to play most of the big ones. There was a couple of console shooters. They just weren't that popular at the time. You know, today they're saturated. There's fucking tons of shooters. They're coming out the wazoo. You can pick one and make that your favorite. Everyone has their own little shooter that they love to play. Some people it's Battlefield, some people it's Call of Duty, some people it's Halo, some people it's Singularity or something, I don't know. But back then, there really wasn't that much. There wasn't a lot of shooters to pick from. So when I was growing up, it was mostly this, you know, action-adventure games. These were all over the place, and if you were like me and you got a PS2 on release day, you had quite a few decent picks in the months coming out. But Halo was different. When it came out, it was certainly different in terms of compared to other shooters. And I want to examine those differences. Before I can dig deeper and find out how exactly does Halo 4 stack up, I need to examine the old Halo games and find out what made them awesome. I need to find out what made the essence of Halo, what forged it into the franchise that it is. So I'm going to do just that. Time to get started.
Cortana, all I need to know is, did we lose them?
I think we both know the answer to that.
If you're a 13-year-old who wears his hat backwards, you probably think this looks like shit. But in all honesty, these were some of the best cinematic experiences of their age. One of Halo's strong points was that it was narrative-driven. Each cinematic had voice acting, music, and general screen flow that sold its story to the player with passion.
Fifth platoon, secure airlocks on deck 11. 14th platoon, rendezvous with 22nd Tactical at Bulkhead Charlie 14.
You heard the lady. Move like you got a purpose.
Here it comes. That fast-paced Halo action.
Sure? Right. Let's thaw him out.
I forgot about this part. They gotta show me how to aim and all that bullshit, as if I can't figure it out myself.
Just look at each of the flashing panels to target them. When you lock on, it'll change color. Okay, that looks good.
God damn it. Okay, blah blah blah, aliens attacking, get to the captain, get a gun, and stop. There's the action. Now this is what Halo is all about. A shooter with a strong understanding of the mechanics that makes the game fun. Guns with feeling, grenades with physics, melee with feedback. Until this point we mostly got arcade-style shooters with corridor after corridor of monotony. Okay, Halo had some of that too, but let's take a look at the second level. Chief and the gang barely managed to escape the ship with their lives, but what's this? They're going in hot. They're gonna crash land on the ring world.
Failure. They flew too early. I'm losing her. Brain for impact.
Boom! Oh my god, several people are dead. It's such a tragedy. How will we ever manage to continue onward? But what's this? An open world just for me to explore? Oh my god, this is amazing! Stepping out into that second mission of Halo gave gamers the chance to put shooting and freedom together, which was pretty rare at the time. It's called open-ended level design, and even today linear level design is a lot more common. But games like Far Cry and Crysis do a pretty good job of keeping the dream alive.
The Master Chief and I need some backup. Can you spare a few men?
You mean I get to drive this? And we come to another element that made Halo unique: the vehicles. We'll come back to this in Halo 2, but suffice it to say, they kicked ass. It's impressive for such a well-built shooter to also have extremely polished vehicle mechanics. You know what, this could take forever. Let's skip ahead to another aspect of Halo: horror.
Got a bad feeling about this.
Boy, you always got a bad feeling about something.
Sarge, can you hear me? What's going on, son? He's got contact. Lots of them. But they're not coming in. They're just tearing through us. What the? Oh, no!
Corporal, do you copy? Over. Mendoza, get your ass back up to second squad's position and find out what the hell is going on.
But
I don't have time for your lip, soldier. I gave you an order.
Sarge, listen.
What is that? Where's that coming from, Mendoza?
I don't. There! Mira! Hold still!
This element isn't that strong, and it's never really been the main focus of the Halo games, but part of the Halo universe involves an age-old parasite called the Flood that consumes its victims and connects all that it consumes to one mind, the Grave Mind. And before you Trekkies out there jizz all over yourselves with anticipation, yes, it might have been influenced by the Borg. Too bad I don't give a shit. I wouldn't be mentioning the Flood at all, but it actually ties into one of the reasons Halo connected with its audience so well. You see, at the turn of the 21st century, violent video games began sparking this cultural debate over whether video games had any effect on real-world violence. Today, we know what the verdict is.
It has no effect at all.
However, back then, and even until recently, developers were bending over backwards to make sure their game got a T rating or lower, because they knew it would sell more. Halo took a different route. Bungie knew that their game was being made for adults, so they designed the game around this quality. The Flood were made to be terrifying because adults don't want some kitty-ass zombies. Get that shit out of here. All Bungie would have had to do to achieve a T rating is tone down the flood and cut the vulgarity from the Marines' vocabulary. And they chose not to do so. Because they knew that it would harm the game, that it would detract from what Halo is supposed to be. That takes courage. I think amongst developers, that takes courage. As our journey into Combat Evolved comes to a close, there is one major issue with Halo I'd like to note. Some of the later missions have stale level design. For instance, in the library mission, you feel like you're going through the same area multiple times. There really isn't much variation from beginning to end. It's easy to go the wrong way if you get turned around, which can be fucking frustrating as hell. That's just about the last aspect of the campaign I can cover without running the risk of spoilers. Let's briefly check out the multiplayer behind Halo. Xbox Live hadn't launched yet, but Halo still managed to have an excellent multiplayer experience that came across as advanced for its time, incorporating the same weapons and vehicles from the campaign. Because of the demand for a connected multiplayer experience, Halo 1 was eventually ported to the PC, allowing players to host and join online matches, which many people still enjoy to this day, including myself. What primarily made Halo multiplayer so alluring was the plethora of diverse maps. Bungie may have slacked off on some of the campaign segments, but they clearly put enormous effort into Halo's multiplayer map locations. In addition to competitive multiplayer, Halo also supports cooperative campaign play. For some reason, this has always been kinda rare among narrative-heavy games. I guess developers think that seeing a friend character running around breaks the immersion, but come the fuck on. I'm not looking to be immersed when I'm playing with friends anyways, so give Halo some credit for that one. Well, we've seen what made Halo 1 a gamer favorite, but I need to touch on Halo 2 and 3 to see how each of them evolves the series. Hopefully this won't take very long. Negatives out of the way first. The Halo 2 plot is complicated. Making things complicated isn't necessarily a bad thing, but many critics would argue that the constant jumping between Covenant and human story arcs confused players who just wanted to see more of the Master Chief's story. Some people have likened Halo 2's strange plot shift to the hazy political bullshit of the Star Wars prequels. Personally, I would not go that far, but when I was a kid, I did get kinda pissed when I had to play half of the game as the Arbiter. I know some people think of him fondly, but I ain't one of them. Also, the ending. Let's just say it's an abrupt cliffhanger ending that left most fans frustrated. It basically said, wait till the next game, folks, and left you stranded on your couch with nothing to say. Another negative is something that plagues most Halo games, but it was first truly noticeable in Halo 2. Although the enemy AI is generally rather intelligent, the friendly AI can be infuriatingly fucking stupid. This is especially noticeable when you make the mistake of letting them drive vehicles. Fucking morons. Halo 2 is basically a new and improved Halo 1, and that might just be what made it so likable. It continued using the same stellar mechanics and improved on Halo's major drawback: campaign level design. Anyways, let's look at some core changes where Halo 2 evolved the series. First off, vehicles. They're destructible, plentiful, and are comparatively much more integrated smoothly into the game. The best way to illustrate this is to compare how they were used from Halo 1 to 2. In Halo 1, they performed like boss enemies, but in Halo 2, they functioned like an extension of normal gameplay. Fluid vehicle-on-vehicle combat was an awesome way to spice up the first-person shooter genre, and Halo 2 nailed this approach. Secondly, dual wielding. A rare element among shooters at the time, especially considering the diverse weapon arsenal Halo 2 incorporated. It's an interesting feature to note because starting with Halo Reach, it was removed and never reintegrated. Thirdly, and probably most important of all, online multiplayer. Halo 2 was the definitive multiplayer game of its age, commanding some of the most impressive statistics in Xbox Live history. It was the most popular game on Xbox Live for more than 2 years, and held the most played statistic until, surprise, Halo 3 blew it away. Not to mention, Halo 2 was the reason Xbox Live had such success. It's likely that Xbox Live would have been widely ignored by consumers if Halo 2 hadn't come along. There's not really much else I can say, so let's move on to Halo 3. Halo 3 was epic. And I don't mean epic like, hey man, you gotta try this new brand of cereal, it's so epic. No, I mean the word in its true sense, before random everyday people started using it to describe their boring everyday materials. I'm talking the dictionary definition. Folks, if you want to do a case study on how to make an awesome sequel to a critically acclaimed series, Halo 3 is your guy. Rarely have I ever seen a sequel done so right. The vehicles were phenomenal, the multiplayer community was unmatched, and Halo 3 made for one hell of a flagship title for the Xbox 360, a still budding platform that needed to find its footing. Halo 3 was a system seller. It was one of the biggest game launches of the current generation, and definitely one of the best final chapters to a trilogy in recent memory. People went fucking nuts for this game, and I can see why. It had immense replay value, forge mode for designers, theater mode for YouTubers, matchmaking for competitive players, and a jaw-dropping campaign for Halo fans. Of course, as with the last two games, it did have its share of flaws. Annoying friendly AI, lack of variety in parts of the campaign, and the game didn't come preloaded with the ability to print money, but hey, who the fuck cares when you get an experience as complete as this game? It had everything, and that's really all I have to say. If you've never played it, make sure you get the fucking chance, because where have you been, honestly?
This is the way the world ends.
I want to make a list of the major components that made Halo successful. Over the course of the entire original trilogy, what were consistently the strongest and most desirable aspects of the series? The ones that played the largest role in forging Halo into what it is today. Starting with Halo 1, we have excellent mechanics with a tight set of controls, a strong narrative with a likable protagonist, a mysterious game world that fits the adventure, and dozens of improvements to the first-person shooter genre, making Halo not only a gameplay powerhouse, but a pioneer of the time. Next we have Halo 2. Multiplayer stopped being a novelty and became more of a fan-loved essential. And because of this, community involvement also became essential to the series. In addition, vehicles became a severely dominant gameplay mechanic from this point on. Lastly, we have Halo 3, bringing the saga to a close with a major expansion on that community established in Halo 2, and making serious overhauls to pretty much every aspect of the game. In conclusion, for Halo 4 to be considered a successful Halo game, it requires stellar mechanics, a tight set of controls, an enthralling world, a strong narrative, attention to vehicles, a sense of community, and at least one notable improvement to the Halo formula. That is a massive fucking order to fill. But you know what? All the previous Halo games got very impressive scores. And considering these scores, we should expect nothing less of Halo 4, quite frankly. But can it live up to that? Can it live up to that ridiculously amazing list? Can anyone? I guess I'll find out. Well, let's get mechanics and controls out of the way first. It's pretty hard for a Halo game to fuck these up, so it's no surprise that this one plays smoothly. Combat, movement, and navigation all act as you would expect, albeit with some pretty impressive aesthetical improvements compared to the games of old. The default controls have once again been altered in favor of popular demand, but that was to be expected. Overall mechanics and controls are perfect. No surprise there. Next item. The game world. This is a tough one. Some areas of Halo 4 are simply jaw-dropping. The visual artists at 343 have captured the heart of what these exotic Forerunner worlds should look like. In fact, I dare say Halo 4 might be the best excursion into Forerunner environments so far. However, there is one distinct issue I find with the game world when I examine the campaign as a whole. Diversity. Halo 4 has clearly backtracked in this area. Some levels are almost as repetitive and lazy as the later sections of Halo 1. Sometimes it's understandable, like when a section is meant to be symmetrical because it matches Forerunner architecture, but I found that diversity of the campaign as a whole made a negative impact on the play experience, so it needed to be mentioned. Still, I don't think the repetition was worse than the rest of the Halo games, on average, and the game was impressive for the most part, both graphically and thematically. I'm giving this one to Halo 4. The narrative. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know everything about Halo. Even having read almost every book and comic related to the lore, I am not an expert on the universe surrounding these games by any means. Having said that, from my perspective, I have to say that the plot and overall execution of Halo 4's narrative is impressive, albeit a little convoluted. If you aren't familiar with the original trilogy, you probably won't feel at home during this bizarre twists and turns of Halo 4. However, if you have previous knowledge of Halo, chances are you'll thoroughly enjoy the experience. In previous games, you felt the constant threat of an alien civilization breathing down your neck, but in this game, you'll feel the constant threat of someone close to you slipping away. There's more tragedy in this one Halo game than the last three combined, and personally, I'm glad they went this route. The strange conflict involving Cortana's sanity and the Chief's need to save the human race really exposes Chief's humanity for pretty much the first time in the whole franchise. This situation causes a strange role reversal where Chief must make his own tactical decisions, while Cortana is left to struggle for consciousness. It's different from the previous saga, but for me, it was a welcomed difference. The narrative definitely gets an A+ in my book. Okay, vehicles. Another tough one. I'll be frank, the vehicles didn't really feel like Halo to me. Every time I used a vehicle, my objective was to blow shit up. Oh, look, a mech. Blow shit up. Oh, look, a tank. Blow shit up. Oh, look, a broadsword. Blow shit up. I guess this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they all seem to serve the same purpose and not actually add any serious depth to the adventure. However, there was one major redeemable quality about the Halo 4 vehicles. We finally get to fly a Pelican, and it's awesome. I know this technically was possible a few times in the past, but personally, I'd always wanted the real deal. That alone, coupled with the, let's be honest, pretty fucking decent endgame flying section, made the vehicles a plus for me, albeit a somewhat weak one. Community. I don't feel well versed enough in the Halo 4 online community to make a full judgment on this aspect, but I will do my level-headed best. Halo 4 has, for all intents and purposes, all the same basic abilities and features of the last major Halo installment when it comes to community. Hell, it's improved in many ways, making understandable additions to particularly the character advancement systems. However, whether it be the game's fault or otherwise, the community surrounding Halo 4 is pitiful. It's not as strong as Halo 2, it's not as strong as Halo 3, and it's not even as strong as Halo Reach. Personally, I believe this is entirely due to a competitive game market. I can't find any evidence to suggest that the community features surrounding Halo 4 have deteriorated in any way. You may disagree, and that's fine, but personally, I can't in good conscience give this a thumbs down due to a lack of evidence, so it gets a thumbs up. And we come to the last piece of the puzzle, and I dare say the most important piece. Did Halo 4 make a notable improvement to the Halo lineage? Many would argue this is where the game falls apart, and I can see why. Yes, the game is beautiful. Yes, it tries its best to be fresh and breathe life into the narrative. Yes, it takes us on an entirely new journey on an entirely new world and keeps a consistent flow with the adventure it's trying to pull off. But ultimately, what major change has occurred? You could argue that the Master Chief is showing his humanity for once. You could argue that Spartan Ops adds a major component that revolutionizes the series, but would you be right? In my opinion, not really, but maybe. There are some changes from Halo 3 to 4, nobody doubts that, but how noteworthy are they? I think this is ultimately where the struggle comes into play for this new generation of Halo games. Does Halo 4 bring something new to the table? Ultimately, I think it's up to each Halo fan individually. I know it sounds like a cop-out answer, but I'm gonna have to stick to it. For me, personally, I don't think that Halo makes a serious qualitative jump from 3 to 4. But, and this is a big but, I do believe that the small jump is worth the effort because it makes a thematic difference. It brings something we haven't seen before. Is it better? Not really, but it's there, and it's fresh, and in my opinion, it's worth exploring. In summation, after exploring all of these different aspects, Halo 4 appears to stand up to the rigorous test of expectations. It looks, sounds, and plays like a Halo game. And that's all I expected from it. That's all I wanted from it. I guess Halo 4 really does live up to the name. The only difference is that it's not groundbreaking in any right. It's not groundbreaking as a shooter, it's not groundbreaking as a sci-fi game, it's not even really groundbreaking as a Halo game. It's a good game. It's a great Halo game. It's exactly what fans asked for. We wanted a continuation, we wanted a sequel, we wanted to know what happens to this guy, and we got it. We got exactly what we expected. A great Halo game. It does new things, it tries new different ways to take the story and the universe, and it's a Halo game. I mean, it's not treading old ground, it's not rehashing, it's just doing new stuff with the universe we love. And can we really fault them for that? For not reinventing the wheel, for not making some monumental pedestal that like the other Halo games? I mean, yeah, Halo 1 was a landmark. Halo 2 was something that changed multiplayer for the better on consoles, and Halo 3 was a case study in great sequel making. Yes, all those games were great for their time, but today there are so many shooters out there. There are so many great shooters out there that when this game played to all the right cues and made its audience happy, it had less of an impact. Yes, it was muted. Its impact was muted because of all the great games out there. When the past Halo games came out, it was running unopposed. There wasn't that much competition. It stood out because of that. But now, it's hard to stand out. Can we really fault them for not standing out as this golden scepter? No, of course we can't, because they made a fucking great game. A game that I will continue to play, a game that many people will continue to play. People have fun with this game. And we can't fault them for that. Halo 4 is a great game. It's a great Halo game. I guess the audience was wrong in this one. The audience was wrong. But where does that leave me? People still hate what I believe. They still mock me for the review that I gave. I'm still at odds with the audience. I'm still shamed. I'll never be a reviewer again. No one will take me seriously.
That's one way to look at it. But perhaps investigating has made you wiser. Perhaps now you can become something more than a reviewer. Something immune to mob mentality.
How did you get in my house?
You will find your destiny in that closet.
Really?
No. I just came back from my Game Boy.
Well, I'm still gonna look, you fucking jackass. I must do now. This world is full of prejudice. It's full of groups, factions, people willing to tell you, this game is bad, this game is good. People willing to pull Metacritic scores, pull reviews, throw IGN at you. People willing to take the crowd response and jam it right in your face. But the crowd response isn't always right. What our culture thinks of something does not always match up with what you think of something. If you play a game and you like it, then that's you. That's your flavor of game. Other people may like it, other people may not. Games are subjective. They're nothing less and nothing more. They are subjective. They are flavors. And if someone else tries to tell you you're wrong, don't let them. I have my opinions, you have yours, and that's all they are. Don't take my word for it. I investigate the games because I have to. But you should do your own investigation, just to be sure. Never trust the crowd. Only the investigation.